Everyone, I'm back again to do my monthly wrap-up for the month of April, which today is the last day, and I managed to just finish a book just in the nick of time today, so I could include it in here. Altogether this month, I read 14 books. Some of them were pretty good. I did enjoy quite a few of them, but there was nothing that really stood out to me as amazing. So altogether, I feel like it's been kind of disappointing on the whole because I didn't find anything that really wowed me. I think, yeah, there's nothing I could go back and say like that's going to be on my favorites of all times list, which kind of disappointed me. Whatever, I've already done full reviews for quite a few of these books, so I'm just going to go through those really quickly, and then I'll put links below in the down bar to the full reviews if you're interested and you want to check those out. First book I read this month was Shine by Lauren Miracle. I did a review on this. I originally gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, but after careful consideration, I have decided to go with my gut, which was really saying the whole time that it only deserved a 4 out of 5 because of the cheese factor. It was a little bit too cheesy, and then everything was wrapped up just a little bit too perfectly. I still really enjoyed this book though, so I don't want to deter anyone from reading it. 4 out of 5 stars anyway. Next book was Wither by Lauren DeStefano. Yeah, you could tell that the Lauren DeStefano is a good writer. Like, the writing and the prose was actually good, and it did make me keep reading it, but the story itself just had a lot of holes and was quite boring in parts. And just watching my review for my full opinion, 2 out of 5 stars. Next book is Wondrous Strange by Leslie Livingston. I did enjoy this book, but it was slightly disappointing because it ended up following closely and adhering to all the paranormal romance cliches, and especially the insta-love was what bothered me, because in the beginning I was deceived. It seemed like it was not going to follow that, and then it did, and I was just so let down by that. So I think I gave this like a 3 out of 5. Next book is This Monster, Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. I did actually, for paranormal romance, I did enjoy this quite a bit. It was flawed, however. The romance really in the beginning seemed like it was just going to be a nice friendship. It really just seemed like a good friendship, and that it wasn't going to be this crazy, you know, all-encompassing love. And then it did, once the romance actually got going. It was like, oh, we just live for each other and blah blah blah. I don't know. And it was a little bit too long. There was a lot of it that was unnecessary, but I really liked the concept. I liked a lot of the characters, even though I felt that Ethan, the protagonist, was just a slight bit idealized for a teenage boy. I let it slide. I am interested in checking out the rest of the series, and I gave it, I think, a 4 out of 5. I think so. Anyway, that's what I give it now. Next book I read was Ash by Melinda Lowe, which is an LGBT retelling of Cinderella featuring fairies. And this is such a cool concept for a book that should have been amazing and blown me away completely, and it didn't, because it just didn't dig deep enough into the concept. Like, the story was just scratching the surface of the story through the writing anyway. It could have been amazing, but it was just alright, just decent. So I gave that a 3 out of 5, slightly disappointing. Next book I read is Unearthly by Cynthia Hand. This is an angel paranormal romance about a girl who's part angel, not about actually a fallen angel or anything like that. I had low expectations for this book, and I was pleasantly surprised because it subverted a lot of the usual cliches, which I was happy about, and I actually liked the characters. So I gave this a 4 out of 5. Next book was Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. Again, I knew I was not going to like this book going into it. I didn't know how deep my hatred would run, because I absolutely hated this book. I thought it was awful. I hated the characters, the two main characters, especially the romance. I just thought was like disgusting and just way too rushed, and I was just like, this is, and boring most of the time. I hated this book. And I gave it a 2 out of 5 originally because the writing was good. Otherwise, I would just have given it a 1 out of 5. But I'll stick with the 2 to be nice. And the last book that I reviewed this month is An Abundance of Catherines by John Green, which I was hesitant going into because I didn't like looking for Alaska at all. But I was actually very pleasantly surprised by it. I just found it an amusing, light, easy read, and I gave this a 4 out of 5. So check out the links below to the full reviews if you want to see any of those. Next, I'm going to get into all of the books that I did not review for whatever reason. For the first book, it's really a series which I'm going to review all at once. It's the Glass series by Maria V. Snyder. So it is Storm Glass, Sea Glass, and Spy Glass. And this one has a different cover because it was the only one left at the Borders going out of business sale. Even though I like the other covers better, I really don't like this one. This series is the sequel trilogy to the Study series featuring Elena Zaltana, which is a series that I really enjoyed. Featuring a character who played a minor part in the Study series, Opal Cowan. She is brought to the forefront here. It starts 4 years after Fire Study, and Opal is just, one-trick wonder with her magic. She only has the ability to like put the light into the glass or something like that. And then there's all these adventures with her going on this. I'm going to keep this summary short. Basically, without giving spoilers for any of the books, Opal gets into quite a bit of trouble. She goes on all these adventures throughout Cydia, and she is like, I feel like she is in more dangerous situations and goes through more crap than Elena did. If you thought Elena had to deal with tough stuff. Oh my god, Opal. And I was disappointed in this series because I liked the Study series so much. I was disappointed for the main reason that I had trouble really liking this series was Opal herself, the main character. She was just not the brightest bulb in the box. She just made stupid decision after stupid decision, knowing that it was not a good idea, and then it would just bring more trouble for herself, and then she'd end up tortured as a result. Literally tortured. That seemed to happen quite a few times. There's a love triangle, or rather a love square going on, which I really didn't like at all, and I really didn't like how the romance ended up. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to spoil any of the books, but it wasn't a bad series, but I almost wish that it had not been done at all, because I just liked how things ended in the Study series, and I really didn't care for Opal as the main character. So on the whole, I gave each book a 3 out of 5. I gave the whole series a 3 out of 5, because it wasn't bad at all, it just wasn't for me, and I just kept shaking my head in frustration, and then the romance too really irked me. How the romance played out in the book, and as well as the outcome. The next book is 450 from Paddington by Agatha Christie. This is a Miss Marple novel wherein one of her friends, Mrs. McGillicuddy, sees a man strangling a woman while she's on a train, in the train running parallel to hers for just a minute. And they never find the body, so Miss Marple figures that the body had to have been dumped. There's one area where it could have been dumped in the land of this big estate, and so she hires this lady, Lucy Islesborough, to go to work there as a housekeeper to try to find the clues, because Miss Marple at this point is like 90 or something, and she's just too frail to do it herself. I highly enjoyed this book. I loved Lucy Islesborough, and I liked a lot of the characters and the interactions in this, as I usually do in Miss Marple novels more than any other Agatha Christie's. I just love Miss Marple, and I love her insights into people and how she just has like the most negative view on people and human nature when she's like this kindly old lady. She always expects the worst of people and doesn't trust anyone. I'm just the thing that kind of made me rate it down was the lack of Miss Marple. Like, I thought it would have been so cool if she could have, like, been the one going undercover as a housekeeper, but I guess, you know, she's too old to do it at that age, whatever. I really liked it, but it wasn't amazing, and I gave it 4 out of 5. The next book is Ordeal by Innocence, also by Agatha Christie. And this is kind of like one of the murder in retrospect novels where it is the main character, Dr. Arthur Calgary. He had amnesia a few years ago, and then he regained his memory and realized that he was the alibi for a man who was convicted of murdering his adopted mother and then who had died in prison. So he goes back to the family and says, hey, I'm going to fix this. Your brother, son, whatever, is innocent. I was there when the crime admittedly happened with him. I was there. I was the alibi. He was telling the truth. He is innocent. The family doesn't take this the way that he expected to. They're all kind of uneasy because the case is going to be reopened, and they just kind of, this guy was always a troublemaker, and they just kind of resigned themselves to him being a killer and got over it. I thought this book was really interesting, and I liked a lot of the viewpoints. Interesting how I found it that most of the kids here, well, they're adults now, they were all adopted, and none of them except for one loved their adopted mother. They just thought that she was like too smothering and just loved them too much, apparently gave them too much. I don't know. I thought everything we got in here was really cool and really well written. Unfortunately, I wanted a little bit more out of this, which I didn't get. I wanted to delve, again, I wanted to go just a little bit deeper. And I know all of Christie's books are really short, all about the same size, like that. But this one, I felt like it should have been longer. I wanted just, I don't know, some long expose or something. I don't know what it is that I felt that this was not an adequate length for this particular book. But anyway, I still really enjoyed it, and I give it a 4 out of 5. And my 14th and last book that I read in April, which I just finished shortly before doing this video, I kind of read through it to get it over with, is Starlighter by Bryan Davis. This is a fantasy novel set in like some other galaxy or something like that, on 2 planets, one that's got humans living and one that's got dragons in control with some humans that live as slaves. And it follows really 2 main protagonists. There's Jason Masters, who's on the human planet, and then there's Corin, who's a slave on the dragon planet. It turns out that she has like some special powers and stuff, and people on the human planet think that the dragon planet is not real, even though someone claimed to have gone there and come back. They think it's just a myth. And then on the dragon planet, vice versa, and then they're gonna be rescued and stuff. I don't know. That's the worst synopsis ever. But this book was just so boring. There was nothing interesting going on. It did not engage my attention. The characters were all just so one-dimensional. Like, the good guys, they were oh so good and pure, and the bad guys were bad, and it just wasn't interesting, and it's just so fakey and just hokey. And I guess it turns out it's Christian fiction, which is not, there is mention of like the creator and stuff in here, but it doesn't outwardly seem a religious book or anything like that. I guess it's supposed to be vaguely a Christian allegory, even though from this first book I don't quite get it until the end. There's some of the stuff there I kind of see how that ties in with religion, but I'm just like, I don't know. Does Christian fiction mean that it has to be boring and totally uninteresting and unable to capture my attention? I don't know. This is just a dull book, and I would not really recommend it to anyone. I thought it was dull as dishwater, but maybe little kids will like it. I do think it was interesting enough, and it's definitely clean content enough for the younger set, like 7 or so years of age, to be able to read it and enjoy it. Maybe I give it a 2 out of 5. Can't win them all. So that winds up my books that I read for the month of April. I have to hurry and wrap this video up because someone is bothering me to come in the room. I won't mention any names. My sister. That's it, and I will see you guys in my next video.